life, being a bit older, is to listen to my gut instinct. And so there have been opportunities to work with a client. I've turned it down. I've not wanted to do it because I just do not get a good feeling about this person. I don't know what it is. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel authentic. Something is not good about it. And sometimes when you're eager for client work, you will take on anything just because you want that. But I would say if it doesn't feel right, there's a reason why your body's telling you that it's not a good situation, and to listen. But an accountant is instrumental in terms of for us being able to submit our accounts annually. But in terms of monitoring the finances kind of month to month, I definitely want to focus on that more. And that's one of the accountability things that I'm discussing with my coach, because I know I need to put more time into it. Like I said, I can lean into the marketing. That's my strength, my networking, my client training. The finances is not a strength of mine, but I know that it's a really important thing for us to be sustainable. But that enabled me to work part-time and grow the business to a point where I did feel comfortable to take the leap. And in actual fact, the other thing that was amazing was that my employer said that they would be one of my clients.
Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom, your business journey, the podcast where we share valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to podcasts and be part of this journey. Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation.
Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom, your business journey. My name is Angela Sindenis, and I'll be your host for this episode. Today, we're joined by a dynamic leader and passionate advocate for workplace inclusion. With extensive experience in marketing, inclusive communications, and leadership roles across both the travel and financial services sector, we're thrilled to welcome Ms. Atlyn Forde to the Begin, Build, Blossom family. Before stepping into entrepreneurship, Atlyn held senior roles at Pepper Money, where she focused on culture, colleague engagement, and financial inclusion, and the Saint Lucia Tourism Authority, where she directed European tourism strategy and global marketing campaigns. Today, she's the CEO of Communicate Inclusively, where she leads impactful initiatives that helps organizations build inclusive cultures and communicate authentically with diverse audiences. Atlyn's work has earned her multiple awards, and she's the author of Navigating Crossroads, a Black woman's guide to career transitions. She also founded the Inclusive Travel Forum, a platform dedicated to advancing equity in the travel sector. Through her inclusion workshops and the Changemaker program, Atlyn continues to empower leaders with the tools they need to embed meaningful, lasting change. Atlyn, welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to learning more about inclusivity and how we can communicate it, since it's on everyone's lips today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you today, Angela.
Okay, wonderful. So we look forward to learning from you. But before we get into the meat of the matter, we'd like to get to know you a little bit more. So we have this section called Rapid Fire, and we change it around according to the guest. So one of the first things we like to know is, what word would you use to describe yourself as a child, and one word as yourself today?
Okay, so they're phrases. So when I was younger, I would call myself an ambitious rebel. And as an adult, I would call myself a value-driven change maker.
Okay, so tell us a bit about this rebel. How did you come to identify with this phrase?
Okay. I've always been very ambitious from a very young age, but I was also a rebel and quite adventurous. And so I guess I used to wear these two hats: a very diligent student, always top of my class, and wanting to be the best my schoolwork and the sporting field. I was quite good at sports as well. But equally, I was a rebel, and so I used to like to go partying and raving and being out late at the weekends. So I guess it was a bit of a contradiction that I was always very ambitious and a good student alongside being a rebel and wanting to party and do things maybe that I shouldn't have been doing.
Ah, okay. That's very interesting. As it relates to now, the change, how did you transition from that? Do you feel like you're still a rebel, but in a different way?
100%. Yeah, I'm still extremely ambitious. And I guess in terms of being a rebel, I guess I'm not afraid to not conform. And I guess I'm more so now driven by my values, which is why I said that value driven change maker. I really fully understand my purpose now. I guess when I was younger, I didn't always fully understand the purpose and my values and how they can lead me in terms of my work and my entrepreneurship. But I really have embraced that. And when I see things that don't align with my values, I'm more than happy to speak out about it or to step away from that if I feel it's not aligned with what I really believe in. And so I feel it's such a powerful thing. And I've been able to use that actually to really grow my business and to focus on a space where I know I can have more impact.
Oh, wonderful. So, hearing this, I know we're going to have a very enlightening and insightful conversation when we go through the begin, build, blossom section. So, moving right along, what's one book or movie you'd recommend?
Yeah. So a movie that I recently watched with my two daughters that I'm was really amazing. I recommend is Wicked, and you may have seen it, but it's the story um, of someone who I resonated with quite a lot in terms of she was very talented, not always recognized for her talents, very very value driven, had a good heart, but wasn't always recognized for that. In fact, people used that against her, and so I think there were so many underlying stories in there and lessons that we can all learn. And I guess as a black woman lead who is amazing actress, amazing singing, and my daughters also. I mean, I felt like when I left, I felt so empowered. Felt like that story was written for me, but also my daughters also felt it too. You know, they've been listening to the songs long after that film, and we also had many conversations around the hidden messages within that movie. So yeah, would certainly highly recommend it. And in terms of a book, I was just trying to find the full name of it actually on my Kindle, but it's called 10x. I will explain the book whilst I'm looking for the name. Yeah, it's called the 10x Rule, and it's by Grant Cardone, and it's a business book, self-development book. And I guess it's like, how can you 10x what you do? You like, we're doing stuff here, we're just going through the motions, but in fact, if you want to have an impact, you need to 10x everything you do. And so um, obviously I'm a marketeer. A lot of it's around marketing strategy, but also other things. You know, we feel like, oh, I'm doing too much. Most of the time, you're just not doing enough. You feel like people are seeing you. Oh, I don't want to post too often because people have seen it. They haven't. And so I guess it was a really good tool for me to really understand that I need to 10x. If I really want to have an impact, I need to 10x, the 10x rule on all aspects of your life. And so, yeah, it's a really good book that I've gone back to read multiple times to help me with all the things I want to achieve in life.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. I've actually started reading that book and I apply it to some things that I do. I was in a different kind of I was in network marketing once and it was a book that was recommended and it's quite useful. And I'm doing a program currently that uses it. So that's really good. So listeners, that's a book you want to add to your list. All right. So as we move along, could you share a fun fact about yourself that people don't ordinarily know?
Okay, I'm going to share two facts. One that some people may know, but I also like to talk about I'm a netballer.
Oh,
Obviously, I'm
okay.
in the latter years of my life. I won't reveal my age.
Really?
But yeah, I've played netball my whole life. I used to do play county level. I trialled for England. I didn't get onto the England team, but I was quite good in my youth. But I still play for two teams now and two leagues, so that's something that people don't often know. But I get a lot of pleasure from that. And the other thing is that I was on a show. I was on a game show called The Weakest Link when I was
Okay.
quite young. So yeah, those are the two fun facts that people might not know about me.
Oh, very nice. You've really led an interesting life,
Hmm.
or
I don't
leading
know about
rather.
that.
Yeah. Okay. So, two more questions so we can bring rapid fire to a close. The first is, if there's anywhere in the world that you can visit, where would that be for you?
Next on my list is Brazil, closely followed by the Seychelles. I just got back from South Africa, Cape Town, which is on my list, so I'm working through it. So yeah, Brazil or the Seychelles will be my next visits. Yeah.
Okay. Why these two places jump out for you?
I guess it's culture, beautiful scenery, lots to do. I'm not necessarily a person who wants to lie on a beach and do nothing. I want to explore and have adventures, and I believe both of those destinations are quite diverse, and the people are diverse. They have people of color as well as other people. Yeah, many different things to do. That's the main thing, really.
Okay. All right. And the last one, is there a childhood memory that brings a smile to your face, or you would say it's kind of funny, and every time you think back about it, you break out into a laugh?
I'd have to say first visit to Saint Lucia as a child. I went when I was about 7 years old for the 6 weeks holiday. I was a Londoner, so it's quite a culture shock, but I do think it had a lasting impact on me. I remember bringing my box of cornflakes. I bought or my gran brought cornflakes from the UK to St. Lucia so I could have my breakfast, which I was happy about. And then the first time I was given it, I literally spat it out. And I was like, what on earth is this? What they had done is that they had a cow. The milk was from the cow, literally squirt, 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 poured into my cornflake. And I had been used to obviously the supermarket pasteurized milk, and I guess obviously all the goodness from it. Now I can look at it and think that was an amazing thing to do, but at the time it was just totally awful. And they had an outside toilet. That was another revelation. But the thing I loved about it, I had my cousins, and we used to just go off on adventures and be picking fruits and just wandering, through the countryside and through nature. So that's where my love affair with St. Lucia started. At the time, I don't know if I looked at it very fondly, that trip itself, but there were many wonderful experiences that were funny, but also terrifying.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I mean, this is a good way for us to build up on now learning about your business journey. So, as we talk about business, tell us about your business. What's the story behind it? How did you get started? What inspired you?
So, Communicate Inclusively is a consultancy whereby we help corporates and also our community and marginalized groups to thrive in the workplace. My mission and one of my values, as I mentioned before, is around fairness. And I've centered my business on being able to help people have thriving careers in whichever way they choose and be able to have an equitable experience in the workplace. I'd always wanted to have my own business since I was this ambitious rebel that I mentioned. I had a vision that I would always be a business owner. And I spent my formative years working in marketing and communications. And so I'd always thought that my business would be a marketing consultancy. And I guess aspects of that, my marketing and communications experience, is really helping me to engage in terms of how I relate to our customers and clients. But, I really got into inclusion work about 5 or 6 years ago, and I realized it was my passion. And so since then, I've been on a mission to be able to, I guess, align my purpose and values with my business ambitions. And so that's the journey that I'm on, and that's why I launched Communicate Inclusively 2 years ago.
Okay, all right, wonderful. Do you consider your business to be something just national to Britain, or is it a global business?
100% global. I mean, majority of our clients right now are based in UK or Europe, but I do have some global clients who have got offices globally. And this is one of the things in terms of where Communicate Inclusively excels, because right now our workplaces are becoming more global. We are having to interact with colleagues who are based all over the world, but there can be a culture clash. Sometimes the communications get lost in translation. And so the clients that I've had that I'm working with, I've done multicultural communications workshops with them to ensure that they can work effectively together, but also that everyone feels they're treated equally and equitably, rather than just the head office people, whatever country that is, are being seen as the leaders within the organizations. And so yeah, definitely global. I also do a lot of speaking, and really keen to expand my speaking engagements to Caribbean, Africa, and across Europe talking about inclusion. And it's really interesting to understand how different countries and where they are on their inclusion journey and how important it is for them. Developing countries are very much focused on having teams that the best attracting the best talent. And so for them, I think inclusion is becoming much more important. Whereas you probably know within the US, they're kind of rolling back on inclusion and equity. And so maybe some other countries may not be so focused, although I do believe they will start to see negative impacts by not focusing on their people. I think any organization needs to really have good principles around culture, wanting to, do the best by their people. Otherwise, how are you going to retain them? How are they going to be able to grow and progress in their careers? And how are you going to be attracting them? Because the best talent, I can guarantee you, are also interviewing you and looking at your culture to understand if they actually want to work in your organization as well. So, yeah, the answer to your question is certainly we want to be a global organization and have more clients around the world.
Okay. So when you started out, well, the first question is, did you always think you'd be in business?
100%. Always. I have many businesses. I've had many businesses along the way. And I guess that's one of the things that I'm trying to, I guess, relearn is trying to focus more. I have many ideas, often try to do too many things at once. But over the years, I've had a number of different businesses, whether it's like an e-commerce business that I had for a while, still kind of running. It's not my main focus. And other things that I've done, I had a hair business, online business selling hair products as well. So I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit. And I guess you learn, and that's what I've done through all the businesses that I've had. Not all of them have been successful, but I've certainly learned a lot. And I guess also just trying to understand where your strengths are and kind of really honing in on that and really focusing on that to help grow your business. And then obviously working on where maybe your strengths are not. And so yeah, I'm definitely an entrepreneur at heart, and I love. I said I'm an adventurer. I like traveling, but also having that freedom. And I think having your own business gives you that freedom to be able to do things maybe that in a corporate when you're an employee that you cannot do. So it's always been my vision, and I'm excited about the future and the growth of the business.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. In terms of transitioning, so you've had businesses all along, small businesses that you did, but I'm assuming that you had a day job. What was that day job and how did you transition from it to fully self-employed, being self-employed?
It's a really important question because I feel there are many other people who want to be business owners, but making that transition can be extremely difficult. And in fact, I did an interview recently with some other people about their business journey, and I say, what was that leaping point? How did you make the leap? And normally there was something happened, whether they were made redundant or their business was changing, and this is what kind of gave them the impetus to kind of jump and to go into business. So for me, I've always had the drive and the desire, but I feel like I've been limited, like something's been holding me back. Primarily, I guess it's financial stability, knowing that, I'm the breadwinner, I've got, a mortgage to pay, financial responsibilities, my children, that, security of having a 9 to 5 job is very reassuring, right? And, doing well in my career, it kind of holds you onto that security blanket, I guess. And so I had a mentor and I was speaking about I really want to launch this consultancy. Got people who want me to do work for them. I'm doing it kind of on the side a little bit, in fact. How do I make this leap? I'm worried about my financial situation. And they recommended that why don't you pitch to go part-time? And I was like, oh, I'd never thought about this. What I've been looking at in terms of researching how people do make the leap is they said you have to have 6 months salary just in case, the business doesn't work out. You have to have all these things in place before you make the leap, and I could never quite get there in terms of I could not see how I was going to exit and feel like I was not taking too big a risk. And so I thought this kind of halfway house was a great idea, and I pitched it to my employer, and they were very open to it. And I was then able to be quite honest about my entrepreneur. There was no conflict of interest in terms of my job and the business that I wanted to launch. And so the CEO was very supportive. And I guess I had a good relationship with them in the first place. It wasn't like I was just this random person in the business pitching this idea. I had built up good relationships with these people. So I guess they thought they trusted me, but they also wanted to retain me within the business. So I guess for anyone that is thinking they might do something similar, I think you need to have a good foundation with your employer before you would go and present this idea, because it may not always land as well as it did for me. But that enabled me to work part-time and grow the business to a point where I did feel comfortable to take the leap. And in actual fact, the other thing that was amazing was that my employer said that they would be one of my clients. So when I left the business, I was able to craft a contract for that company to then be one of my clients, which again helped with that transition. So I was very lucky with that. But again, the idea did not come from me, it came from a mentor. I could not think of a way to transition. And so I guess I'm thankful that this other person could look at it from an outsider and give me a possible solution that I hadn't thought of or considered. That was in actual fact very effective and helped me to take a soft leap, not the big leap, into having my business. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. So we were able to chat about it today. In that response you provided, you highlighted something very important, which is a mentor, somebody who you can speak to about your ideas. So just to hone in a little bit on that, was this someone you'd been speaking to all the time, or did you deliberately identify a mentor to help you for business purposes?
I didn't. I knew I needed a mentor. I knew that I needed someone to talk to about the challenges that I was facing. I've got my network of people, but there was no one really that I could talk to about these things. I was having to make decisions and go through things and look online, for information. So I really wanted a mentor. And then I was part of the Marketing Society, which is kind of a membership organization. That was through my employer though. And they had a mentorship program. And I thought, oh, I'll sign up. And then I was just lucky enough to get paired with an amazing lady. Yeah, it was an inspiration. I'm so happy to have her in my network. She's no longer a mentor of mine. I've got a different mentor, but I knew that it was such a valuable thing. So in addition to having mentors, which I've got another one now, I also have coaches. And so a coach and a mentor are slightly different in terms of with a coach, I'll work through particular scenarios and challenges and get them to hold me accountable. And I guess a mentor's more kind of guidance on many different areas. I've had mentors and coaches over the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years, and they've been instrumental. I'll always try and have them going forward if I can.
Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation.
Oh, thank you for providing that insight, Atlyn, because I believe as persons in business or people who are aspiring to get into business or entrepreneurship, we don't always think of these other facets or factors that could influence our success or failure. So thank you so much. And also for showing the distinction between the mentor as well as the coaches for life, the coach for business.
Yeah, very different actually. So my life coach is more like a mindset, positive mindset. Again, identify my purpose and value. She helped me with that. And many other things, we're multidimensional, dealing with family and relationships and other things like that. That was wonderful. But once I feel I was in a good place with that, I knew that I needed a coach for my business to help me to be accountable to develop a 3-year financial strategy for the business. I really wanted some guidance on that. And so, I feel like if we do have areas where we're not 100% sure, definitely seek out a coach or a mentor. Or the other thing I was looking at was a mastermind. I wasn't able to find a mastermind, but that's like a group of people who may be all business owners, and that can be really good. So if you know of any masterminds, I'm also quite keen to join one of those too.
Dale Carnegie's suggestion of a mastermind group.
Right, yes, exactly.
Yes, yes, I remember that. Okay, so we spoke about beginning the business, and we now go to the build section. So, clients, how did you get started on clients? Who was your first client? How did you get that client as well?
That's a good question. I'm just trying to think who was my first client. I can't honestly remember, but what I know is that in the beginning, I was doing a lot of one-off training, like, oh, can you come and do a session with us on unconscious bias or psychological safety? And that was great. But the vision and mission really was for us to be a partner for organizations and to be able to, I guess, go from doing some insights, some research with them, focus group surveys, one-to-ones, and to really understand that business, and then to develop strategies tailored to them, which might include training, but would also include other aspects as well. So, I've had a number of these different clients now, and this is where I get a lot of joy from being able to really fully understand these clients. And to work with them. So I've retained retention's a key thing that I try to do to build that relationship. So if I do the training and one-off training, for me that means that I've got the doors open. I've done a good job. We can go back and try to retain that relationship and build and do more with them. And I've been very successful at doing that. I often say that it's easier to retain than it is to find new clients. But also I've got a team that work with me, a young team who many of whom started off as interns with me. And again, in the beginning, I couldn't afford to pay full-time people. And so I found interns, young people who had maybe just recently graduated. One of my interns, Savannah's been with me for nearly 3 years now. Even before I launched this consultancy, I had the e-commerce. She was helping me with that. But she was a master's. She was doing her master's in marketing. I was looking for something else to do. And, she's grown. She's now my sales and marketing manager. She's very talented. But again, for people who are starting in business, know they need support. I also had VAs, online VAs that would help me. Again, I've got a designer who's based in the Caribbean. She's an amazing designer. But again, you don't have to have people with you 100% of the time. You can find people. I used to use Fiverr quite a lot to get support from people based all over the world who are experts in different areas of what they're doing. So yeah, the first client I can't honestly 100% remember because I think I was doing it side of desk while I was working and then I launched, but I guess the line is blurred in terms of when did I officially start because I was doing work from before.
Okay, so it sort of speaks to, I suppose that question would be, how did you get that client? And you said it, just somebody inviting you to come along and then to do a presentation. And then that just one thing led to another, and you've been able to build up.
Potentially, Angela, but I have asked my clients, how did you hear about me? How did you know about me? And it's multiple different things. We spend a lot of time, like I said, Savannah, my sales and marketing manager, we spend a lot of time producing resources and doing webinars, doing podcasts like this, because we're always focused on our funnel and getting people into the funnel. Because quite often people say, oh, I saw you do a webinar. I saw you speak at this event. Oh, I saw your post. And so for us, providing information openly about our topics is really important, and we have to continue to share information because people notice you and then they get into your funnel. We also do a lot of outreach. So we do a lot of kind of email and LinkedIn campaigns where we share information and try to get people to want to know about us. So it's an ongoing thing. And again, this is in a 10x book as well. You can be amazing at what you are doing. Your business can be amazing, but if no one knows about it, if no one is aware of what you do, you're not going to be successful. And so marketing is something that I did for many years. I think we could do more, but we're always marketing and sharing content to get people to be aware of what our services are.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. You answered my next question in talking about the team, because we were going to ask, how did you build that? And so it's good to know.
There are more team members. There are others as well that I have. And they're all part-time interns, though. I don't have anyone on PAYE just yet, but I'm hoping that will come very soon. But again, it's just finding the right people. I've had people that have come and gone and others that have stayed with us. But there are 4 people that work for me at the moment. One is an intern, and the other 3, I guess, have been with me for a little while and are more contractors. So
This conversation is really, really insightful, because another thing you've touched on is the use of interns. There are many students who are completing their studies, who would be interested in practicing and not necessarily looking for remuneration. And it's an opportunity for them to gain experience and for you as well to get things done. So that's a very good tip.
well, I do pay my interns. Just clear that up. I don't like free labor. As I said, we're all about inclusion and fairness. And so,
Well, not market value, as you may not be able to.
no,
That's correct.
exactly. Yeah. But their expenses are certainly covered. And I said, as they grow and develop, then I would increase their income. So I'm not advocating for having people working for you for free. I think they should still be paid something. And you agree that, yeah, along the journey, yeah.
Oh, yes, because they do need to take the train to
They need
come.
to eat.
They do need to eat as well. They need to come looking a particular way. So I was saying that in the sense of, you may not be able to pay the market value, but you can at least give them something to allow them to come and not have that high expenses. So they're gaining experience, you're getting assistance with your business, and the two of you are benefiting mutually.
100%. And that's exactly how I sell it to them, that, you're here to learn. Let me know what your focus areas are. I'm happy to give you a reference, to mentor you, to help you on your journey. I want you to be successful in your career. And this is just, part of your journey, and we're here to help each other. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we have two more questions in this section. One of them has to do with finances. How do you handle your finances? Did you hire an accountant or is it something that you do yourself?
I definitely have an accountant, and this is one of the areas that I need to, I guess, focus in a bit more in terms of my forecasting. But an accountant is instrumental in terms of, for us, being able to submit our accounts annually. But in terms of monitoring the finances kind of month to month, I definitely want to focus on that more. And that's one of the accountability things that I'm discussing with my coach, because I know I need to put more time into it. Like I said, I can lean into the marketing. That's my strength, my networking, my client training. The finances is not a strength of mine, but I know that it's a really important thing for us to be sustainable. And so, yeah, I want to be able to monitor and be able to tell you confidently kind of what's happening next month. But I'm not quite there yet, but I'm definitely working on it.
Okay. All right. Great. So to close out the build section, what would you say is your biggest leap in starting your communicate inclusively business?
The biggest leap, I think it was doing that part-time thing. I said that was a big leap for me. I guess also I feel like having the belief and the faith that this business is going to be successful. Right now, we're having to pivot and be agile. And at first, that was giving me quite a bit of anxiety, like couldn't clearly see the future. But now, although I still can't see it clearly 100%, I know that we have a lot of value to bring. I know that there is a way forward, and we're diversifying what we do. I kind of spoke about my corporate work, but also part of what we do is to help communities. And so I'll do projects. Angela, you're familiar with the Navigating Crossroads book that you mentioned. We're going to be converting that into a webinar and an in-person event series, because we want to help more Black women on their career transitions. And so, this is really important for me to help, other people. There are other projects that I really want to do globally, but also locally. And so to facilitate that, we look for sponsors, and we also look for grant funding. And so we want to be able to kind of help both do corporate work to help the people that are in those organizations, also help those marginalized groups to be able to get into those positions and to be able to thrive as well. And so I think by diversifying what we do, we can be successful. But to never get too comfortable, and just, I guess, the biggest is to really understanding that don't sit on your laurels. You also always need to be agile at what value you bring to others. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we definitely have to talk a little bit more about the navigating crossroads so I can get involved on a different level. As we move on, was there ever a time where you felt like, I don't want to do this anymore? You wanted to give up?
No, when I read this question, I was like, honestly, when it comes to my business, this business, I haven't. There have been other businesses where I have felt that way. The e-commerce business was very challenging at times in terms of fulfillment. It wasn't my wheelhouse, but I feel like, communicate inclusively is really in my heart, and will always be. I love what I do. And so I have never really had that thought. I've had challenges along the way. I think, I mentioned some people have come and gone in the team, and I feel like if you recruit someone into your team and then they're not the right person, that can be quite difficult to understand. How do you develop that person, or maybe they need to exit your business? That's been challenging. And also just trying to, I guess, find new clients is always a challenge. And chasing for money. So you've done the work, the client's very happy with your work, but it's their finance team that needs to pay you. And so quite often I have to chase for that payment to be made. So it's wearing multiple hats. It's not all sunny out there, but I've never thought that I didn't want to do this. I love what I do, and that is so important to me, to have that, because when the going gets tough, you need to have that heart and always understand why you're doing what you're doing.
Okay, so have that why to keep you going.
100% is needed when the dark days.
Yes, I could imagine. Okay, so we'll move to the blossom section. How have you seen your business grow from the first time you started to today? And what do you envision for the next couple of years?
It has grown. As I said, we've managed to retain some really big clients, been able to access grant funding, and that's been a real achievement in terms of people believing in us and seeing that we can deliver good work through our social impact. We've grown our team. We've got some great people in the team now, and they've developed and they've grown as well. And for the future, as I said, we're trying to diversify what we do, trying to, I guess, focus on the pain points that people are experiencing in the corporate world, and how we can help them to navigate those pain points by bringing value, training, strategies, and other ways in which they can engage with their people better. But also, as I said, that community work brings me a lot of joy, and I see, yeah, I'm really excited about the impact that we're going to have on the people through our projects. So I mentioned navigating crossroads, but there are other projects also that I'm developing an e-learning program, which will be, I guess, a hybrid, because some of it will be in person, not just all through e-learning. And again, I'm excited about developing that and delivering that. And we've got some funding too to help other change makers who, like me, want to have a positive impact on their workplaces. They want to be the people who can be the catalyst for that change, and how can we support those individuals. So yeah, it has evolved. We've done a lot, and sometimes you don't acknowledge the journey that you've been on and how much of an impact you've had. I guess I feel the other thing is, and again, through my coaching, is really others being able to see some of the good things that we've done and that we can lean into. And so I feel like, in terms of, for me, engaging with people using, I guess, my skills in terms of networking and looking for opportunities to collaborate, I think that has worked really well. Meeting someone at an event and then building on that relationship, and before you know it, they're a client of yours. I need to lean into that more. That is a strength that I hadn't even identified that I have got. And when I look at how I've got some of my clients, many of them have been through that process. And so trying to do that more, and understanding that the follow-up is so important, and connecting with people where they are and being really authentic. Being who I am is enough, not trying to be someone else. So these are all things, I guess, that in the beginning, the early stages, you're just second guessing all the time. You're not necessarily focused on really looking at what worked well and replicating it. You're just always trying to do something new. So I guess this is really the blossoming, the really feeling more established, and being able to learn from your experiences, and to replicate the good things, and obviously to not replicate the things that didn't work so well.
We were going to ask a question about a lesson learned, and from you speaking, I think the major lesson is looking at what works well in the beginning and not just focusing on doing, because then you're not seeing, you're just thinking you should be doing all of this thing. Would you say that's a good lesson?
It definitely is, but I've got another one I can share with
Share
you.
it with us. Yes, please.
And I guess what I've also learned, not just through business, just through life, being a bit older, is to listen to my gut instinct. And so there have been opportunities to work with a client. I've turned it down. I've not wanted to do it because I just do not get a good feeling about this person. I don't know what it is. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel authentic. Something is not good about it. And sometimes when you're business, you're eager for client work, you will take on anything just because you want that. But I would say, if it doesn't feel right, there's a reason why your body's telling you that is not a good situation, and to listen. Again, a lesson that I've learned through not always listening. And then when you go down that road and you're like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was not right. Something wasn't right about this. I felt this before. Don't keep doing it. If you feel something isn't right in the beginning in business, there's a reason why. So yeah, that's my other lesson learned, I guess.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And I think it's valuable, not just in business, but in your personal life as well. When you interact with people, you can always tell something is just not right. And you touched on something about being authentic. It breathes through you. It breathes through what you say and how you interact with people. So if you're feeling that this person is not authentic, that's a message.
100%. But also, I feel like when you are authentic, people warm to you more. I don't know what it is, but I guess human nature, we want people who are real, right? And so if you can own who you are, be proud of who you are, and just talk openly, people will resonate towards you. So I guess it works both ways as
Yes.
well.
And then you weed out all the other things. Yeah. Okay, so we've covered so much and we're running out of time, but I want to make sure that we capture the rest of the question because they're important as well. Family. How do you balance your working and family life? I know you have two daughters.
Yeah, it's a challenge. And as I spent many, many years working in travel and tourism, working for the Saint Lucia Tourist Board, but also others, GDS called Travelport, and a tour operator called Carib Tours. But what I found is that I was traveling a lot, and I love travel. Even now, it's still one of my big passions. But being away from home was impacting my children. And so that's one of the reasons why I decided to leave travel and to move into financial services. And it was a hard decision to make, but I learned so much. I've made amazing contacts. And actually, that led to me launching my business by moving into financial services. And so you definitely have to make sacrifices and do not what's just best for you, but do what's best for your children. So I guess that's been the biggest thing. I guess also, I mean, I feel like family is one of my values. Family is my strength. I need to always try to make time to connect with my family. It keeps me grounded, keeps me happy. And so, again, not everyone, may not have that as a value, but for me, it is particularly important. But they also understand that I'm extremely busy, but are also very supportive in terms of what I do. But yeah, it can be a challenge trying to balance everything out.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Atlyn, and thank you for sharing your business journey with us. Before we close out, if listeners wanted to reach out to you to find out more about what you do, would you be willing to offer maybe a 30-minute interaction with someone who reaches out to you?
Oh, 100%. I'm really open to that. If anyone is interested in any of the things that I've spoken about, in terms of collaboration, in terms of business, but also just some advice or guidance along the way, I'm very open to that. So LinkedIn is a good place to find me. Quite proactive on there. I'm the only Atlyn Forde on LinkedIn that I know of. So if you just type my name in, you should find me. But also you can visit our website, communicateinclusively.com, and you can check out all the resources. Like I said, we're always creating content and articles and guides and templates. Or you could download the Navigating Crossroads book. It's also on the website as well.
Okay, wonderful. So, quickly, 3 things that you would tell someone who says, today I want to start a business. What should they consider?
Finances, how are you going to make money?
Mm-hmm.
That's a key thing. Is it a viable business? Seeking advice from others to establish that? And I guess, is it your passion? Is it something that you really care about? Because I mentioned before, in those dark days, you need to have that core why, because you may then not stick with it. And having a business is not a short-term thing, it's a long-term. You're not going to most people would not make a lot of money in the early days. And so you need to be able to stick at it. So certainly I'd recommend that if you want to start a business, then make sure it's something that you really care about, but also that it's viable and you can actually make money from it.
I cannot say thank you enough. I have really enjoyed this interview, and I certainly hope that our audience does as well, because inclusivity does not just speak to the workplace, it speaks to your home, it speaks to your family, it speaks to the community. And so you shed light on that. So people, I encourage you to check out Atlyn Forde on LinkedIn, on her website, so you can find out more. Thank you for listening, and thank you so much for taking on the offer to be here today.
It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Listeners, thank you for listening to Begin, Build, Blossom, your business journey. Follow us on wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to you joining us on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Begin, Build, Blossom, your business journey. We hope today's conversation gave you the insights and inspiration you need to move forward on your own path. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. Do you have feedback? We'd love to hear from you at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com. Join us again next week for a new episode.